Hello, hello, hi, hi, folks. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. In hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. I almost made it at midnight. Man, I lost track of time. Lo siento. So I got an interesting one for us tonight. I don't know, maybe you've experienced this in the past as well. But have you ever trusted somebody and then their behavior kind of surprised the heck out of you? um, and maybe the behavior shouldn't have surprised you. Um, you kind of maybe at the afterwards you tell yourself, oh man, I know better than that, or I I knew that already, or I shouldn't have done that, or my gut feeling was telling me, right? Maybe you have been in that boat before. Got a little story for you, and it all comes down to this one point, I believe. And let me tell you the story first. So, a guy walks into a forest and looks around at all the trees and announces that, hey, I need a handle for my axe. um, I need to make a handle for my axe. So the trees kind of look at each other and kind of have a conversation, and they're kind of surprised by the guy that just kind of comes up and is straight up and says what he wants to do, and they all kind of have a conversation to pick one tree for him that he could use to make a handle for his axe. So they all decide on this one particular tree, and some of the older trees even said, you know what, this tree right here, it's kind of bad luck, So no problem. So if you want to take that out, go ahead, you know. So the guy goes over to that tree, cuts it down, and kind of fixes the handle for his axe, kind of screws it in, tightens it in, and then starts to cut down all the trees, even the ones that were having a conversation and decided to have one of the trees be the sacrifice for his handle. All of them. He started cutting all of them down. And as he was chopping these trees down, when he's getting to the last two, the older trees, this one tree tells the other tree, we shouldn't have trusted him. Our step one was wrong. Had we had not done that, we could have been here for years longer. Now, maybe you have to think about that story a little bit, right? And maybe you have to kind of let it marinate a little bit before you kind of can have some takeaways. That was the case with me. I had to kind of listen to it a couple times because I have so many different, well, not so many, but I have a few different takeaways. And it was kind of hard to decide which one would make more sense. Claudia, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Hopefully you catch the beginning part too, because it'll probably make more sense. Dig the rope. Anyway, I digress. So it's interesting because I had a few different takeaways from this story. And, one is obviously, you already know the guy is telling you what he wants to do. The guy is saying, listen, I want to make a handle for my axe. The guy is saying that. And yet, the trees or people gather along and still decide to give him that, right? So my first takeaway is you can't trust everyone, especially those that you already know what they're up to, right? So that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is the moment you give up your freedom, the moment you give up your character and who you are, people will take that and take that as a sign and chop you down. That was my second takeaway. Because, you know, the moment you give that up, the moment you give up your freedom, I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about your character, your principles, your values, that kind of a freedom. And once you give that up, people are going to chop you down. People are going to use that to chop you down, to put you down, to ridicule you, to criticize you, to make fun of you, point the finger at you, right? That's going to happen once you give that up. So guard it, like with everything you got, and be careful who you release that to, right? That was my other takeaway. So 3 takeaways. The other one is be careful who you share your stuff with. Be careful who you put your trust in. Be careful who you want to hang around with, right? Because, I mean, if the trees were, one of them at least was super smart, would have turned around and said, hey, listen, buddy, listen, everybody, this guy is going to make a handle for his axe and he's going to chop all of us down. So, yeah, let's not do that, right? So, surround yourself with people that make sense for your journey, for your purpose, for your road ahead, right? And if somebody if somebody is going to be chopping you down like that, if somebody is going to be throwing curveball on your road to success, if you would, then it's probably the right time to say, hey, listen, this doesn't fit with my journey, right? I trusted you, or I trust this, or I trusted the process. Like I said, this guy shows up, says what he's going to do, but yet people still trust, right? Because sometimes we are not pressured, but sometimes we're influenced by other people's opinions, right? OPOs, other people's opinions. And that's the case here, right? But some other times it's just us. There's nobody else around. You know, you can't always say, well, you know, I trusted everybody. No, sometimes it's just you. At the end of the day, it's just you. Even if there's people around, at the end of the day, you make that decision. You're the driver of your car. It can only be one driver. Now, everybody else can say what they want to say, but you got the wheel, right? So at the end of the day, you make that call. You decide to give up that freedom. You decide to give in. You decide to trust. You decide. So before you decide or you make that decision, you may want to pause for a second and kind of pull back, observe a little bit, and say, hey, is this guy an axeman coming to me, having to fix his axe so he can chop me down? I mean, that's a valid question for you to ask when you meet people, right? What is this person's intentions with me? Either professional, romantic, or just even a drive-by, right? So before you make that decision to trust or to give up that whatever freedom, if you want to call it, head pause for a second and take a look around and kind of observe, evaluate, maybe reevaluate, and then decide. Because here's what I would tell you. Because when you make that decision, and we've talked about blaming and complaining a lot, but when you make that decision, guess who you gotta blame? at the end of the day? Yourself. You know. Besides, if you start to blame everybody else, have you noticed? I'll share this and I'll leave you with this thought. Have you noticed if you start blaming other people for things that have gone wrong in your life, they're gonna get defensive, and they're gonna say, "No, that's not the case. No, not my fault. It's you, right?" And they come back with a bunch of yous, and now you're like, you're like, what the heck just happened? Right? So it's natural. You start blaming other people, they're going to be like, no, I never, you made that decision. I just told you what I thought, but you made that decision. See, when you start pointing the finger at people, people are going to get like, they're going to back off and they're going to turn it around and put it all on you. I mean, is it just me, or have you had that experience too? They put it all back on you. Most people won't say, oh yeah, you know, I said that, I'm sorry. Doesn't happen a lot of times. It happens, but not a lot of times, right? So if you already know that, then you might as well take the blame yourself. You know, why throw it at somebody else and have them slap it back in your face? You just slap it back in your own face and take the blame, take the responsibility. Be more wise in your decisions, I guess, right? If that makes sense. So I guess I'll wrap it up with this. Thought of the day is this. Before you give up, yeah, you like that, little Rocky? Before you give up your freedom, your whatever that you consider as freedom, right? Before you give that up to anybody or to a group of people or, you know, to your work, to your this, to your that, whatever it may be, pause, take a look, reevaluate, make a good decision, wise decision, a wise decision, one that you can say, I did it. I did it. It's all me. Whether it's good or bad, all me, right? So then that way, nobody else to blame and nobody else to come back and hit you back, right? Like this guy is going to come back and all the trees are going to say, wait, what are you doing? You're cutting us down. The guy's all like, I came here to cut down trees. Why else would I be here? I came to a forest to fix my axe. I don't have a bike shop, you know? So you got to put the two and two together sometimes, you know? Anyway, hopefully you got some love, some inspiration, some value from this. I appreciate you guys. I definitely want to know your feedback. Hey, maybe you had a totally different takeaway from the story. Drop that in the comments below. Let this feed grow. I appreciate you guys. And remember, if you care, you show that. If you share, you show that you care. Until tomorrow, where we do it all over again. Much love.